Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Carlicchio. I want to welcome you to another segment of Destination Health Podcast, where we find function in a dysfunctional world. I'm very excited about our guest today. We've been trying to do a podcast, Rebecca. I think for the last 6 months, our
Oh,
schedules have been just
mhm.
way off. But I want to
Oh, yeah.
welcome you to the podcast. I'm looking forward to our conversation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Been a long day at work and everything. Have a nice job and everything that I have to commute to, but traffic was not kind to me this morning, I'll say the least. So
Where are you in the world? In Maryland, right?
I'm I'm in a town called Owings Mills. It's in the suburbs outside Baltimore City, kind of about 50 miles north of DC.
Okay, awesome. Oh, so you're in the gateway right there where everybody is, and you just go
Hmm.
there and you go to the congressional. No, forget about that. We were talking about that before. So Rebecca's been active all of her life, but she struggled to stay consistent with her weight and her nutrition and her weightlifting, and she's decided to get into this. And now she's an NPC figure competitor. She stumbled upon bodybuilding in 2012, immediately hooked. Bodybuilding has taught her proper nutrition as well as training for your goals instead of yo-yo dieting. Everybody's on yo-yo diets today, right?
Hmm. Quick fix.
Yeah, they want these quick fixes, how to eat for results, stay lean, intensity of, I
Hmm.
know you're intense. So the intensity of bodybuilding has helped you go from a sedentary lifestyle because you're a software engineer. So you're sitting in front of a
Yes.
computer all day long. And now
Hmm.
you won first place in the Arnold in
Hmm.
2020, second place in your class 2022 at the NPC Masters Nationals. And
Yes.
and Rebecca was telling me that there was a 77-year-old guy that was competing. So I don't feel so bad if I ever get there. Personal trainer, you're ready to rock and roll on the show. All right, so tell me, why weren't you consistent beforehand? What's going on in your life? Anything that was doing and so forth and so on.
Like many people, I kind of struggled in my teens and my 20s to find like a consistent routine and figure
Mhm,
out how to like learn how to balance life and relationships and work and everything and find a fitness and nutrition routine that would kind of work with all of that. That's kind of
mhm,
been one of the big things I've gotten out of all of this is whatever it is that you decide to do needs to be sustainable and you need to make it actually part of your life. Like you don't
mhm.
force somebody to eat chicken and broccoli all the time or something like that, or maybe they're in a place where they can't eat food all the time. Some jobs are like that. So that's kind of where I started out with that. And there was a lot of yo-yo dieting. I didn't really pay attention to nutrition, was kind of relying on my metabolism when I was younger a little bit more. And long story short, went through a bad divorce when I was about 25 and then started drinking more. And that's when my pant size went from like a 2 to like a 12. I probably
Yeah,
wouldn't have been considered obese or anything by any means at that point, but it wasn't good for me for a lot
right,
of reasons, mentally and physically as well, because it wasn't a good gain, to say
right,
the
sure,
least.
sure.
And then, like I said in my bio, when I ran into a trainer at Brick Bodies, which is a
Mhm.
local gym around here in 2012, the guy was like, "You should compete," and I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" And there it went. It was a
You just
snowballing
decided to
addiction
take
from
off.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, going through a bad divorce, there's always this, whole set of emotions. You don't feel good about yourself.
Mhm.
So, was it at that point in time that you decided, all right, you just let it go, right?
Yeah.
And food becomes an addiction, right?
Mhm.
And drinking becomes an addiction because it makes you feel good for that momentary
It
type
does,
of a
yes.
stuff. Is that what you went through? Is that how it happened for you?
Worse with the food, because
Worse with the
I have
food.
a problem with the binge eating where I don't really ever feel full,
Hmm.
like most people, which is some people will tell you that kind of thing, but like I don't know if the hormone that's supposed to be released, I believe it's called ghrelin, is not released to
Hmm.
me. But I don't ever feel like I ate anything. And because I was emotional and stressed at the time and not eating properly
Hmm.
or exercising, all of a sudden I started eating more and more and more. And it was like fast food and stuff like that. And then
Right, you're
throw
going
in
for the
some rum and
processed
stuff.
food because you want that immediate high. You're not going out and getting wild caught fish or salmon or something like that. You're not making the steamed broccoli and you're not doing anything like that. It happened to me. I was stressed during the 90s with practices and HMOs were coming in and all of this stuff, and next thing you know it, we had a bunch of employees, Rebecca, and money wasn't coming in. I was 260 pounds, I think,
Uh,
255, 260.
mhm.
So, food was my addiction. Being an Italian
Oh,
American,
yeah.
we like to eat to begin with. And
Pasta.
so, yeah, you eat a lot of macaroni, eat a lot of pasta. So it was the stress of the divorce, right? And you just started to eat and you went from that size 2 to size 12.
Mhm.
Listen, our
Rapidly.
podcast, we love to motivate, educate, and inspire, Rebecca.
Right.
So your story is going to motivate, educate, and inspire somebody, okay, to get back to get into the gym for the first time, whether they're 40s, 50s, 60s, males,
Mhm.
females. It doesn't matter
Yep.
because there's always, the best. I always say to my patients, the best is yet to come. So
Mhm.
listening to this podcast, the best is yet to come. So what did
Mhm.
you specifically do at this point in time? Like you got to turn your life around. What did you do to turn your life around?
I won't lie, it took me a few years. The divorce was
Always
finalized
does.
in, yeah, it was I was probably a good 6 to 7 years before I kind of got somewhat back on track with the
Mhm.
eating and the fitness and stuff like that. And I just got something like kind of flips in you all of a sudden. It's like a light switch goes off and you're like, I can't take looking like this anymore. I don't want to feel heavy. I don't want my whatever skin hanging over or pinching or
Right.
something like that anymore. And I used to be able to see my abs. And
Mhm.
people asking me if I still work out and why did I stop working out? All those little things pile up.
Pile up, right? And it plays
Hmm.
it plays on your psyche at that point, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I was dealing with a lot of lengthy commutes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I was getting jobs where I would have to spend maybe 5 hours a day in traffic. So
Ooh.
it became very challenging to actually exercise at that point, and I kind of had to figure out ways to find jobs that were more remote or closer to me or partially
Well,
remote or.
yeah, at that point in time, you're just stopping off at whatever fast food restaurant on the way home.
Hmm.
Because if you get out at 5:30, 6 o'clock, by the time you get home, nobody's cooking. You're single
Hmm.
at that point. The last thing you
Yep.
want to do is cook. So whatever fast food, and you're eating it in the car, by the way, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Was there any specific moment in time, was it that you just looked at yourself in the mirror, like you come out of the shower and you just looked at yourself in the mirror and you were like, I feel disgusted about myself because it's
Hmm.
not healthy. It has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the aesthetics at that point, I think, right? Because I had a heart attack when I was 37. So for me, it was a health type of a situation, right?
Hmm.
Was there a specific moment that you just said, okay, like I had all these little things, then all of a sudden, boom, there was this one thing that just knocked you out and you said, I can't do this anymore.
I won't say there was a single defining moment. It was more just getting fed up with the yo-yoing. And I came to the
Mhm,
realization, I was like, I'm lucky when I'm young, your skin snaps back pretty easily.
mhm,
But even at the
mhm.
age of like 26, 27, like I still ended up with a lot of stretch marks from that kind of weight loss, the rapid weight gain, weight
Wow.
loss from it. Yeah. And
So
like I'm
so
like
you
losing it.
gained some weight then. How much did you gain?
I want to say maybe 40-ish, I would say. I mean,
Wow.
I'm tall. I can carry it a little better than most people. Like I'm 5'8", so it wasn't
Right,
like I would. Nobody would have described me as like fat, but like I
right.
was just a big like somebody called me a big farm girl, and I was like that kind of got to me. I still remember that as well.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Because the
yeah, I'm
words
not
that
a.
people say are always hurtful at times when it comes to this,
Oh
right? And
yeah.
so, it could be a very hurtful situation. And you're not one to be jilted so quickly like that either. I know that
No.
about you. So then you decided to turn your life around. What was that
Mhm.
like? What did you do? How did you lose the weight? What was your mindset? What happened?
I got into competing and it took a little while after that to kind of learn my way around it. And that was in 2012 when I started. I've gone through a couple trainers, and you kind of learn what to look for in good and bad trainers and coaches and stuff like that, which was also a
Sure,
whole nother. That's a whole nother topic too, because not everybody knows what they're talking about.
sure.
And after a few years, I finally kind of got the idea of what was going on and started learning. Okay, this is what you do to like drop weight and keep it off,
Hmm.
and this is what you do to like sustain it,
Hmm.
like in between shows. And you learn about things like reverse dieting and
Hmm.
tapering off your cardio coming off a show and stuff like that, and how to build up your metabolism so you can eat more and enjoy life. And
Right.
you learn moderation and balance. You become very selective about cheat meals and stuff like that and refeeds, and you're not just rolling into McDonald's for the hell of it all the times. Pardon my French. And you're going to, maybe you're like, okay, I want to go to Haleo or something like that because that's a special place for me once a year or whatever, and you go enjoy
Well, you know what? Number one, people have cussed on the podcast. I
it.
try not to, just to let you know. That's the first thing. What's your favorite cheat meal? What do you like to eat?
I love sweets. I'm definitely a chocolate person. I have a
Yeah.
major peanut butter addiction, which is why I do not keep peanut butter in the house
Yeah, yeah,
for good
yeah, yeah, yeah.
reasons. So I love pizza. I love Italian food, a good steak. Maryland's kind of known for its crab cakes and crabs and stuff.
Yeah, do you
So,
like the crab cakes down there?
oh yeah, and you know what? I know how to make them too. Like I'm a Baltimore girl, so I've learned how to cook and everything. It's kind of one of my hobbies on the side.
All right. Well, you're gonna make crab cakes one day, and we're just gonna make our way down south, and we're gonna have crab
Absolutely.
cakes.
I love
So
cooking for people, so anytime.
there you go. So people look at food, and boy, I get this all the time in my practice. It's just crazy.
Mhm.
You and I were talking about good foods, bad foods, what's supposed to be a good food, what's supposed to be a bad food. And people
Mhm.
have just such, passionate opinions about stuff.
Mhm.
Do you do the keto diet? Do you do the carnivore diet? Is this the best one? I say
Mhm.
whatever works for you. We just got to figure that out, right? So
Mhm.
what are some of the misguided children and their thoughts when it comes to good food versus bad food? I think this is an important topic to discuss.
Oh, it's a controversial one for sure, as far as what's good and bad and what's the right way. But like you were saying, different things work for different people,
Right.
within
Sure.
reason. Um, Things to remember: people are meant to be omnivores. I'll just leave it at that. We're meant to eat
Sure.
meat, we're meant to eat plants.
Right.
We're not meant to eliminate one or the other. So we should be having both. There's nothing wrong with carbohydrates either. Eat
Right.
them appropriately, eat the appropriate ones and at the right time of day, and you'll be
Right.
okay. You don't have to cut out pasta or rice or something like that. Like, cutting things out usually leads to a bad rebound as well. Those are all
That's right.
kinds of things that I've learned. And you don't, like, coming off keto, you can't just suddenly start eating carbohydrates again. You have to very slowly reincorporate them.
You got to
It's a
slowly
gradual
bring
thing.
them in. Correct.
Hmm. You start eating pasta again all of a sudden, it's not going to be pretty.
No, it's
So,
not.
mm-mm.
Because I listen to so many people, oh, you got to do keto, or oh, you got to do this, or oh, you got to do that. And I just look at my patients and I say, I modify diets.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it and I say, what needs to be eliminated, what doesn't need to be eliminated. I do some blood testing with that, with food
Mm-hmm.
intolerances. It makes it easier, to do this, because I mean, I have patients coming in and they're like, they may be, overweight, and
Mm-hmm.
they were told by their cardiologist to come see me, and they
Mm-hmm.
were told to do a low fat diet, right? So they won't eat fats. But then I'll sit there and I'll say, listen, maybe, for lunch, you put a little avocado in your salad with maybe a little wild caught
Mm-hmm.
salmon or something like that, with some nice veggies in there so you get your carbs. Because people look at it and they say low fat diet, but then an avocado is really good for omega-3 fatty acids, which is a good
Mm-hmm.
fat as opposed to a bad fat. Do you find that when you're training somebody that's like, oh, I got to go on a low fat diet and I can't do this because it's so bad, and my doctor told me to do this. It just
Mm-hmm.
drives me crazy when they do that, right?
It does. I've actually had my doctors ask me about meal plans and stuff like that. So that should just leave you with enough on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, well, you're asking me what to eat. That's interesting. I definitely gotten asked several times in the last 6 months. Will eating fat make me fat? I'm like, no. If anything, eating a good fat is going to stabilize your blood sugar and help you lose weight. It's going to make you feel more satiated all day long.
That's right.
Avocados are like a wonder food for
Hmm.
me, especially a lot of people too. It does great things for your skin and your hair. I think it's why I don't have lines and anything on my face because
Well,
I've
you're
been
only
consistent.
21, right? So you can't, you're not gonna have lines at 21, right?
Try 41, but okay.
Okay, there you go.
Close enough. But I like that number better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very common misconception that you should not eat fats, and I wish the doctors would be a little more specific about what they mean. Because
Yeah, I find that they just make these recommendations, and
hmm
eating, and listen, for everybody listening today, there are good fats that are out there that you should be eating. Again, it's good for your
hmm
hair, it's good for your nails, for your skin.
Oh
Could be an
yeah.
avocado, could be a fatty fish such as wild caught salmon, which
hmm
is which is very good. There's so many different sources that you can eat, right?
hmm
That you can sit there and say, okay, you know what? It's, I'm fat, but I'm a good fat type of a situation. That's like the meme that everybody, puts
hmm
on social media. All right. So when was the moment in time that you decided, all right, I'm going on stage, I'm going to build muscle, I'm going to, I'm 40 years old and I'm just going to rock and roll now. This is like a new aspect of my life. What was that? What was that moment?
Uh, at my local gym, this was the first one I like when I restarted my fitness journey, basically. There was a trainer there I used to work with for maybe, I want to say 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
And he kind of approached me. I'd been taking some of his small group classes and stuff like that. And he's like, you really should think about going on stage. And I'm like, what's that? And then he goes and tells me, and there it went. So I cut down for my first show in 8 weeks, which is very unusual. Usually it's 12 to 16 to get everything off. I was always been kind
Or
of
if you're
athletic.
60 years old, it could be 2 to 3 years. You just don't know.
You would be surprised. It'd probably be like a year-long process. You'd be
Yeah.
building for a while, and then
Yeah.
you would cut down. But in the meantime, you would be leaning out. Your body would be transforming. You would be seeing
Yes.
stuff along the ways.
That's
You'd
my
change your
goal.
food.
1 year, 1 year, 1 year. Next year at
That's
this
definitely
time.
reasonable.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So it's all
So
about
so
making it
so
a
then you
lifestyle.
decided to go up on stage, and at 8 weeks, how is that to get up on there for 8 weeks? That's crazy.
It wasn't bad. I learned one of the many things I learned while during the competitions and stuff like that was that the first time you drop, at least for me, you drop quick,
Hmm.
which isn't always good, but in that case it was because I dropped the weight very rapidly. And
Hmm.
I do have a high metabolism, so I'm fortunate in that regard. But that being said, I have a harder time putting on muscle because of it. So I'm kind of
Hmm.
an ectomesomorph hybrid,
Hmm.
basically. So I can gain lean, but my body responds very well to the food I put in it. So if I eat crap, I look like crap. If I eat good food, I look good. It's about the end of it. So,
Yeah, I,
um,
I have I have that same issue. If I go off and there's
mhm.
that 2 or 3 days I'm at a hockey tournament and there's pizza and there's cheeseburgers. Monday
Yeah,
my pants are definitely. It only takes a couple of days for me. My
for the
Monday my
water.
pants when I'm driving into work, it's like, ew, this is not
Mm-mm.
comfortable at all here.
Face is all bloated and you feel like crap and
Yeah,
everything.
face is
And
bloated, your gut's bloated, everything is gut health today. How
mhm.
was it going on stage for the first time? What was that like?
It is an adrenaline rush like no other, I will
Yeah.
say. And especially like for me, like I'm kind of unusual for an engineer because I like public speaking. Like one of my other jobs in the past was I've been a professor. So I did that for 7 years too
Uh-huh.
at the university I went to for my undergrad. So I enjoy being in front of audiences, but I'm not an extrovert, which is weird.
Mhm.
I'm kind of like a hybrid between introvert and extrovert.
Yeah, because usually engineers, they just like to sit there with their Texas Instrument. I don't think they make Texas Instrument calculators anymore. That was
They
in my
do.
day. Well, they do see that. I don't know. So you're sitting there with your TI 55. That was in my day, and you're like, wait a second, dude. No, I don't
Like
never heard
80
of
or
that.
90 or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So you like to get up there, and it was just an
Mhm,
adrenaline rush for you. I love that.
mhm.
Because a lot of people say that they're fearful when they get up there, and some
Yeah.
people say that it's this rush. How'd you do in the first one?
I got all second places. I just wasn't big enough at the time.
Mhm,
So in like your first show, like they don't talk about it too much, unless you follow the leagues and stuff. But posing
mhm,
is very important
mhm,
to showcase your physique in the best possible way. And
mhm.
my posing was just not great for a few years, like at all. It was really horrible for lack of a better way to put it.
How long did it take for you to get the muscle and to get the posing down? What was that transformation?
Mm, I want to say I didn't really start getting the hang of the posing for a few years. I
Mhm.
don't have like a dance or a gymnast background too much or anything like that.
That
So it's
helps
a
out
lot
a
of,
lot, right?
I'm not a performer like in that
Yeah.
regard. So it was a little easier for people with that background.
Mhm.
So mm,
When did you start really, like, was it serious right away, or did you start like, slow and then all of a sudden it became serious? Like, all right, you know what? I'm crunching numbers all day. Then all of a sudden I have to go to the gym in the morning and then I'm going to do some cardio at night because I'm just motivated when it comes to that. When did you start to take it real serious?
I was pretty serious from the get-go because I figured out quickly that lifting like that was
Mhm.
a really good form of stress relief for somebody like me. I'm very high energy, ADHD and things like that. So it provided like the ultimate extreme to me having to sit all day long.
Mhm.
So it was
Yeah.
actually very helpful in that regard because it kind of calmed my brain down. I have like I get bad insomnia. So
Mhm.
it kind of helped me sleep and everything better too, which
Sure.
then also fed positively into, me getting better results too, because I wasn't, fatigued and upping my cortisol, which will then make you hungry.
That's right.
So
So now that leads me into a scene when you're talking, I think about 1,000 questions. So what
uh,
are the other benefits that you've received from training besides the aesthetics with the physique? What is it? What else did you receive mentally, physically, emotionally? What was that like?
I got balance in my life. My job is very sedentary. Like I literally have to sit at a desk and stare at a computer for 8, 9 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you work at home, you're never really off.
Mm-hmm.
So it gave me the ultimate extreme to that, you know, and gave me balance in that life. It gave me the skills later on. I had to develop them over the years of competing to actually make things sustainable and to learn how to not look at it as like a diet or just a quick weight loss gimmick or something like that and say, hey, how can I take this and make it a part of my life, but still enjoy food? Because I'm a
Mm-hmm.
foodie. I
Mm-hmm.
life food is one of life's finest privileges. It should be enjoyed in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's I will go out, and if I go out and eat, I enjoy it. I do not feel guilty anymore. So it's been one of many benefits.
Are you going for your pro card? You gonna go
Yes,
for IFBB?
3 weeks.
Three
North
weeks. Tell me.
Americans.
Tell me. Where
I
is
got
it?
3 weeks in one day, and I am trying not to screw up my diet at this point. I'm entirely fed up with eating fish all the time.
All right. So I have to ask the question now. Are you having cravings now for different foods because you're just eating fish? You know.
um, it's not too bad because I have a metabolism, and like once the weight is off, you can kind of play around a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
because you're in a maintenance mode at that point. So I'm like
Right.
kind of
Sure.
skirting this line now where I'm trying to keep my muscles full,
Mm-hmm.
but still stay lean and tight. So now I'm at the point now where I'm just drying back out for the show, and what I have to do for that is not the world's most healthy thing because you basically cut out all the fats from your diet for like a few weeks, probably somewhere
Mm-hmm.
4 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So my mouth feels like the Sahara Desert right now
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of it.
And you're drinking.
So
You're just going to drink a ton of water anyway,
I
because
am, and there's no amount of water fixing this dry. Just I
there's
can tell
nothing.
you
There's
that I've
nothing
got a
that's going to
gallon
do
today,
that.
and it's
Yeah.
no. So that's what'll go on the next few weeks. But I'm not doing any crazy cardio. I don't do super calorie cuts or anything like that. Still eating
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates. Just
Mm-hmm.
have to cut out the fats for a while. But the biggest hit has probably been energy for that.
Right, because you're going to get energy from your carbs. That's what does it. And you want high
That's
impact carbs when you eat carbs. Because people think of carbs, they think of cakes, candies, sugars, processed foods type of a thing. And
right.
that's just not healthy for you at all. I mean, that's just terrible. That's all omega-6 fatty acids for everybody listening in. That puts the
Mhm.
inflammatory cascade going. And the next thing you know it, you got some gut issues, you got some weight issues, and you're just not feeling your stuff. So it's in a little bit, you're going for your pro card. And what city you're going to be in?
Pittsburgh for that. North
Oh, you're going to be in
Americans.
Pittsburgh. Oh, okay. We're going to
Yep.
Pittsburgh at the end of the month for a hockey tournament. So there you go. I'll wave by, when I'm going by, I'll wave.
I will be up there I think the 30th or the 31st to the 3rd.
Oh, really? We're going to the 27th to the 28th. There you go. We're just going to miss each other.
Um,
So what has your training been like now leading up to this show, going for the pro card? What has your training been?
I started prep heavy in February. I did a regional,
Wow.
yeah, I did a regional show in the DC area, actually Northern Virginia, I think Alexandria,
Mm-hmm.
in late June. That went well, but it's a local show, so I had to go and go do another national show in July, which was
Mm-hmm.
also in Pittsburgh. That's the Masters Nationals from my
Mm-hmm.
bio, and I got second, so I literally missed the pro card by one placing, which stung a bit. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little upset for a few weeks. So as far as the training and everything, when I was doing the
Did
initial
that
cut,
motivate you? Did that motivate you to get more? You're like, I'm not
uh,
settling.
yes and no. It's a whole whirlwind of emotions because of everything you've put
What were
into it. You're
those
so
emotions?
depleted.
Yeah, because you're putting so much time and effort into this, right? It's just like if you're going for the Super
It's
Bowl, you're
finance.
gonna, you're gonna run in the Olympic marathon. It's the same thing, you know. What was that like for you?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the Super Bowl, so if you imagine the losing team walking off and their facial expressions and how they all reacted, there's a
Yeah.
some are very calm, some are, upset and, almost throwing things and stuff like that. Some are, just take it and move on. And it was probably all those emotions put together. You struggle, how much longer do I want to put my body through this? It's a lot, but then you're like, well, I really can't quit. I'm so close. I'm already in shape. So I may as well hit the next national show and go for it.
Yeah.
So it's,
So you're from Baltimore. You a Baltimore Ravens fan?
of course. I'm a sports fan in general. I love anything competitive
All
at a
right.
high level.
Interview is over. That's it. I'm done. You guys beat us in the Super Bowl. I'm a Giants fan. You guys just crushed us. You guys crushed us. I knew we were losing after Kerry Collins threw the first pass. He was this much off. I will tell you, I was at that Super Bowl, by the way.
Mhm.
I will tell you,
Oh,
at one
lucky.
point in time, there was only a couple of things to do. The stadium was phenomenal. It had
Mhm.
great food, and you had all these drinks. And I will tell
Right.
you, Rebecca, that at one point in time, my buddies and I, we were a little toasty, and I
Right.
got up. They said, "Where you going?" And I said, "They need me." They were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "They
Oh,
need
God.
me." So I start making my way down and stuff like that, and the security was there, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I said, "They need me." And they're like, "What are you talking about, buddy?" I said, "The
Yeah.
Giants need me. I'm going to go suit up. I'm going
Mhm.
on. I'm going on I'm going to go on the field." They're like, "No, you're not going on the field." I pushed the envelope a little bit, and then one guy came up to me and he said, "Listen, it's actually kind of funny what you're doing, but you need to stop." So in fact, I
I
did.
think
All
they I
right.
think they did I think they did need you actually, from if I recall correctly.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This has been a great podcast. We'll have Rebecca on, yeah, right, in the
Hey,
next
it's all
5 years.
a friendly
It's all
quarrel
good.
here.
It's all good. It's all good. So what's your strongest body part? What's your best body part?
Well, that actually changes unbeknownst to me. I found that out recently.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have legs that were overpowering my upper body.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent years hammering on my upper body to build it up. And now you have to bring up your quad sweep and your glutes and your hams.
Mm-hmm.
So probably now it's my back, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
is my big selling point. And so definitely the width and thickness in my back.
So and what's your weakest part? Because everybody has a
This
weak part, right?
Yeah, I tend to lose my shoulders, the fullness in my shoulders when I diet down too much,
Mm-hmm.
which was it happened a little bit for the first show this year. I had a coach I had to part ways with a few weeks before that show for unpleasant reasons, we'll say. And I think I was dieted down too much and I was a little stringy looking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So at that time I would have said my shoulders weren't filled in enough, but I definitely know I need more hamstrings, glutes, and quad sweep, which is that roundness on the outside.
Sure, absolutely. My
Mhm.
my posterior chain, my back that's my weak point. It's like it's so difficult. My shoulders are the best, and my chest. I get nice bis and tries. My abs are just tough right now to
Mhm.
get. It's
Abs are
like,
made in the kitchen.
oh my goodness.
They
What
are.
happens? I'm a chocoholic too. So
Oh yeah.
chocolate comes into the house before it's out of the bag. It's just even
Mhm.
during the pandemic, I just get the chocolate. Just give me just give me the bag, and you can sit there all day, right? And you can just eat the
Mhm.
chocolate, and that's just like my favorite part. You know,
I just compulsively exercise during that during the
yeah,
shutdown.
you just once you get that cravings, you want to get your heck in check. You got to get your hunger, your
Mhm.
energy, your cravings, and all of that. You got to get it in check, because if you don't get it in check, next thing you know it, you wake up 3 days later after 15 bags, and literally,
Mhm.
I can destroy that. I can really just get in there and just go crazy
Mhm.
when it comes into that. So engineering, how'd you get into engineering? What was that?
I was always more I was always better at math and science when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Wasn't big into writing, and I wanted something when I went to school that was it was marketable. It could get me a job that would pay the bills and was also something that I was good at. So that was kind of how that came to be. It was more of a practical thing. I didn't want to be coming out of school with this degree in a worthless field and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and stuff like that. And it's one thing if you're going to medical school or a doctor or something like that, you can get a job as a doctor. But we'll say other degree programs that are maybe a little less desired in the work world, and you have to get master's or doctorate just to get a job in it. And I'm like, I didn't want to end up in that predicament. So I learned a lot about, return on investment with schools and stuff like that. I went to a local college. Nobody really asks you where you went to school in my
No, nobody
field.
does
They
that.
don't ask you your GPA or anything like that. So I learned pretty quickly. I was like, okay, I made the right decision here. I can go get a job here that's, I can make money in. I'm not going to roll out of school with a bunch of debt. I went to school on a full academic scholarship and everything. So I was like, yeah, it
Renaissance
was,
person. We got the whole thing going on, right?
yeah, well, I try. There are hiccups to that one sometimes, but
So for my nieces that are listening, because I know that they're listening, I want you to
yeah.
listen to this section again.
Mhm.
All right, because they've
Okay.
graduated from school. That's a conversation for another
Mhm.
time. How is it going up on stage with the Arnold? Because that's exciting. I've been at the Arnold, that's just like that's just real exciting, right?
Oh yeah, it was. I've been there actually twice. I went in 2015 and 2020.
Uh-huh.
2020 was especially exciting because I rolled in there as everything was going down with the pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, so like I was driving out to Columbus from Baltimore, and they're canceling things right and left as I'm
Right.
driving out there. I'm like, I could literally drive out to Ohio, and they could cancel it at the last minute. I'm like, they couldn't have done this like a week ago.
And you're
I
not
had
going
a
to be
little.
the happiest person in the world at that point, right?
No, and there was
No.
a lot of people like in one way I felt lucky because I actually made it on stage, and there was other people who prepped for 12 weeks or 16 weeks or however long, and their shows got canceled. And I can tell you, I definitely would have been a little perturbed if that happened.
Yeah, because you put all that time and all that effort
Hmm.
into that,
Yeah,
that's just crazy, right?
yeah. So it was definitely exciting is the right word for it. I got out there and I went and they were shutting things down right and left. I joke sometimes that I happened to roll into the grocery store and got one of the last lonely bottles of Lysol in the country at that point in time because and it looked like a mob went through the grocery store and wiped out the cleaning department. I was
Right.
looking around going, what the heck is going on here? And I then went on stage and I'm lined up to go out for judging and the audience is lined up in the hallway and they suddenly canceled the audience. They had already
Wow.
canceled the expo. The expo the day before they canceled the expo, so people had already
Because it's
shipped
in
their stuff
March.
in.
That's when everything started falling apart at that point,
The
right?
very first week of March, I want to say it was like 2 weeks after.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was wild to experience that. So, but it was also kind of crappy because part of the reason you go on stage is like you're in front of an audience, you feed off that energy. So if
Yeah,
there's no
sure. Of
audience there,
course.
it's kind of
100%.
disconcerting because you look out and it's dark.
Right.
There's no noise. All you have just a row of judges in front of you, and that's it.
And you don't want the judges just in front of you too, because you don't know. I got to get some light in the room, and we don't take this out. By the way, this all stays into the podcast. So if you go like this, it's all good. If you're scratching your nose,
Mhm.
so what are your goals? What are your immediate and long term goals for getting on stage? What do you want?
I want to get the pro card so that I can kind of close that particular chapter. It's been a long time coming and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot for me, and I've worked very, very hard for it, and I've put the time into it. And if it took me a while to actually build up my body correctly, because I'm not what is known as a genetic super freak as far as body builds. I
Right.
don't have a microscopic waist and bowling balls for shoulder taps and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
I have good genetics, but not super freak genetics is
Right.
the way.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
had to build up my X shape
Mm-hmm.
for it. So my immediate goal would be to get the pro card. I want to take some time and let my body rest. Recovery
Yeah.
is, not
Recovery is
discuss
very
them.
important with this. So for everybody
It is.
that's listening in, it's just that you're just not going to the gym and you're working out 24/7, every day because your body needs, just like any athlete, your body needs to,
Pressing
get some,
down
yeah,
and that's when your muscles grow too. A lot of
that's right.
people don't know that. You have to feed them well, work them out and break them down, but they're not going to grow until you let them recover.
Right.
Soaking, getting the right sports massages,
Right.
stretching, rolling out, keeping yourself limber and things like that. Especially
Absolutely.
if you or whatever your job is, it can counteract like maybe your issues with your posterior chain,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, back problems.
My posterior chain is just so bad, but I'm working it. Tomorrow is back and by, so we'll see if I can get a little motivation from our podcast here today. Now, who do you like to be a role model for this for younger people? Is that something that you would look into? Is that something that you would want to do to, inspire others to do this?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
who are
like
your
being
and
real with people. and then
Uh-huh.
telling them I like being real with people and telling them the truth about different things and the pros and the
Hmm.
cons and
Hmm.
stuff. So
Who
yeah.
did you look up to?
As far as athletes,
Hmm.
oh gosh, let me think back to the beginning who I was looking at. I mean, Arnold, of course, is always one of the first ones everybody thinks of.
Everybody thinks of Arnold, and everybody thinks of Arnold.
Mhm.
What female figure pros did you look up to?
Aaron Stern is a good one.
Yep.
Sydney Gilliam, she's another
Hmm.
one. She's a top figure girl now.
Hmm.
There's Jessica Reyes Padilla. She's a Puerto Rican girl that she
Hmm.
competes and stuff. Like I like her a lot because I'm built similar to her.
Hmm.
Um, I think of some other ones. I have actually a couple friends that are pros. My friend Rochelle Cannon, she's a pro.
Hmm.
I have a friend of mine. She got her pro card when she was 57, I believe it was.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
she got it in the over 55 category.
Yeah,
Her name's Sandy. I admire her a lot as well. It's all these people kind of give you hope that you can sustain it all these years.
absolutely, absolutely. Because on the show we've had Jenny Lynn on, we've had Nicole Wilkins on, we've had Gina Aliotti on.
Hmm.
Those were the pioneers, I guess, back in those days, right? They were the pioneers. So
Hmm.
tell me, what do you got to do now for the next 3 weeks to get ready? What's your schedule like? What's your training like? What's your training like? What's your nutrition like?
Well, I have to hide from my refrigerator at this point, so I hide in my
Hmm.
bedroom upstairs. It's going to be a lot of. It's very low fat now. I'm basically not eating any proteins, but egg whites or fish. So
Hmm.
I eat
Hmm.
egg whites, mahi mahi, and cod are my three proteins that I'm eating now.
Hmm.
My carbs are oats, organic oats.
Hmm. Hmm.
I eat basmati rice. I eat sweet
Hmm.
potatoes.
Hmm.
I eat them at night too. I'm not a whale when they're fat or anything. The carbs aren't going to
Hmm.
make you fat. And veggies, I'm eating asparagus. It's a natural diuretic, so it'll pull water off of you and dry you out a bit.
Yep, yep.
I'm eating something like that basically every 2.5 to 3 hours.
That's what I was going to ask. It's every 2 to 3 hours.
Right. And I'm actually not crazy cardio, maybe 5 days a week now. I would say 40 minutes
What do you do
fasted in the
for
morning
cardio? Yeah, what do you do for cardio? Just on the treadmill or anything special that you do?
until maybe last week. It was more on the big step mill just to get the
Hmm.
conditioning and everything and get the leanness and tightness and everything, but then you have to let your legs heal, otherwise you don't look as good on stage. So
Right.
the step mill is very pounding. Like
Hmm.
it's a lot for your legs to have to do. So I've been phasing out the stepper and switching over more to the treadmill on inclines this week to tighten up the
Hmm.
booty and everything.
Hmm.
All the
Sure.
problem zones for the girls. And
Hmm.
as far as lifting, it's a lot of we're in the 15-20 range for reps at this point. I usually do 5 sets of everything. I'm hitting body parts probably 3 times a week at that
Hmm.
point. So especially my shoulders to keep them full.
Yeah, to keep them up and going. All right, you know
A
what? I'll
lot
give
of
you I'll give you my shoulders, and then you can take them. You'll first place. It's gonna be first place if you take my shoulders. Well, maybe
the
not.
shoulders I need, but this time I need a quad sweep though. Do you have a quad sweep I can borrow or
No,
something?
my quads. I've had bad knees, so it's tough for me to work my lower extremities because
Mm,
surgeries on knees and stuff. I can't really squat so heavy, and they're the sissy squats. You go half and stuff like that. I'm not going. Well, I can't say that word on the air, so it's like down to the grass. I can't go down to the
gotcha.
grass if. So that's just not going to happen. What's the
Mm,
mental aspect of the game now? Boy, you got 3 weeks. What are you going through? What is that like? How do you deal with the stress?
you're tired. And
Hmm.
it's a fatigue like nothing else that I've felt. I basically, once I'm done working, I don't want to do anything but go like lay down.
Right, sure.
And I want to sleep probably for like 12 hours a day. I could easily do that at this point. And it generally happens when I remove the fats, like
Hmm.
from my diet, not the carbs, just the fats. Like I have more problem with that. So as far as like what I'm doing to get ready, like I'm resting as much as I can. I soak in Epsom salt like several times a week just to help me
Hmm.
recover,
Hmm.
roll out periodically, get massages and get scraped as I need,
Hmm.
so I can move and things like that. So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
it's all about like self-care at this point, making sure your skin looks good. You have to go, there's a
Right.
lot of things that go into it, especially for the ladies. You have to
Sure.
have the hair nice, the skin nice. So I'll get my hair rebraided. You got to go get waxed. And, when you get tanned, you have to shave your whole body and stuff like that.
Right, because
So,
you're in this little itty bitty. There was a
mhm,
song from the 60s, I remember. So itty bitty tiny white
mhm,
bikini or something like that. What is it? What is
something.
the mental struggles at this point?
Getting up to do the training and dealing with work and dealing with life and people and everything when you have below zero patience and tolerance,
Right, right, right,
with
right,
BS, for lack of a better way to put it.
right, sure.
And you're sitting there struggling with the fact that you're exhausted and you got to get up at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning, which is what I do before work,
But then you're
and
training, you're doing some
go lift
training.
and train. And then, like,
Right,
my Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, I work out myself before I work all day.
right.
And then I go train my clients, from,
Mhm.
5 to 9:30 at night. So I'm pulling like a 16-hour day.
Because you got to
That's
pay for all this food and stuff like that, right? So I mean, you got to,
fees. Yeah. Those
yeah.
those
So
bathing those suits cost like $1,500 or $2,000. So
crazy.
yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, do you meditate? Do you just, you just like, it's just like you're on adrenaline right now, or is there something that you do right now
Mhm.
to bring it down, to refresh your mind, to get going? Is there anything that you do?
You It's hard, but you have to
Yeah,
let yourself be selfish. And most
yeah.
people are not tuned to think that's okay. But if you meet any athlete or any competitor or anything and ask them when they go on a big show or a big game or something like that, like, you go to the competitors and the bodybuilders, they'll say that you go to a dark place, but it's not like a negative dark place, but you kind of pull back from everything
Right. Because I
and stuff. So
remember, yeah, I remember playing football and stuff like that, weeks leading up to a big game, state championship or whatever that
like
was.
this focus.
Yeah, you're just focused. You're just kind of into yourself. There's nothing that you want to be bothered with in the outside world. Just don't talk to
Mm-mm.
me. Teachers ask me a question. Hey, can you do this math equation? Don't bother me. All right. I just don't want to be bothered. Give me the zero for the day. I'll make it up on the next exam or something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, listen, we're almost done here. See how quick it goes?
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah,
Flew
it's
by
like
fast.
we're like at 42 minutes. I said about 45 minutes. If you were to
Mhm.
give individuals three strategies or tips for success to get into better health, what would you say?
That's a loaded question at the end. My probably the biggest general advice I would give is whatever you decide to do for your meals and stuff like that and your food and whatnot, figure out a way to make it sustainable long term.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm, beating, dead horse or whatever like that, but don't go for the quick fix. There's a lot of, fallouts with
right,
that kind of thing. You're going to tank your metabolism. You
right.
could end up with sagging skin or stretched skin, depending on what you're trying to do. There's a
Hmm.
lot of reasons why you don't do that. And then you usually blow up whenever
Right,
you revert to whatever you're doing.
right, sure.
Look at your life and work with somebody who's willing to work with you on that kind of thing. I've met other trainers and coaches and stuff like that that are like, oh, you need to eat fish and asparagus or something all the time or whatever. And
Right.
everybody can't do that. I have a client or in the past that drove a bus. He could not chug down a
Yeah,
gallon and a half of water all the time and be running in and out of the bathroom all day. That
yeah,
doesn't work when you drive a bus.
yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
make it work with your life and figure out how to do that.
Okay.
And then
And number three,
have a frank discussion with yourself and figure out how bad do I want this?
in
Because
anything in
ultimately,
life, right? It doesn't
yeah, I
matter.
mean, it comes down to you. I work with clients and I'm with them for what, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2, 3 times a week. They're on their own most of the time. They need to make good decisions.
100%, 100%, 100%, no
Be
doubt.
accountable, but also forgive yourself. If you screw up, get yourself back on track. Don't use it as an excuse to go on a month-long binger, that kind of thing.
Because you really don't fail, you just kind of learn, you know what I'm saying? Right? It's just
And
the
you should enjoy food.
all
You
right. So
should.
we're just all right. We're gonna put five in there. So be forgiving and enjoy food. All right. Even though you said sustainable, we're gonna put that in as the last one.
Food should be enjoyed in moderation.
All right. Absolutely. Wait, do I want a slice of pizza now? But I'm not gonna get it. Anyway. So you got the show at the end of the month and your personal training people. You're not going to take on any more new clients. But if somebody wants to contact you, where would they contact you and how would they contact you?
I'm on Instagram. My
Okay.
tag is Rebecca Broadwater.
Okay.
Rebecca, and Facebook is similar. It's just Rebecca.Broadwater.
Okay.
So you can message me through there. I would say DM on Instagram is probably the easiest way on social media to get me. And then at that point, you can also I put my phone number on my Instagram profile. I guess working in tech kind of makes you jaded because somebody could find that information easily if they wanted to. Anyway, so
I
you
have
can always
people, I
text
have
me.
people in politics I make one phone call. I get that phone number in 30 seconds. So
Yeah, it's not a big deal. So you can text me. Please tell me who you are. At that
at
point.
least say that you listen to Rebecca on
Mhm.
the podcast and so forth,
Yeah,
because we recommend
absolutely.
her 100%. So if you want to, because she does virtual as well as in person
Yes.
training. So wherever
Competition
you
prep,
are,
posing, meal
yeah, wherever
plans.
you are in the world, get it going. All right.
Yep.
See, I told you it goes pretty quick, right? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So
definitely fun.
what we're going to do is we're going to have you on sometime in September after the show, because you're
Yay.
going to tell us about your experiences and your pro card, because you're getting your pro card and stuff like that. So it's all good.
Don't jinx me.
No, we're not going to jinx you. So
Mm.
listen, I want to thank everybody for listening in today. Please contact. We're going to have everything in the show notes so that you have all of
Mhm.
that stuff. And good luck. Go out
Yes, thank
there
you.
and kick. You know what? All right. Go
I will.
crazy. All right. And have a good time. Good luck. And thank you very much for being on.
Thank you for having me. Have a great night.
Absolutely. So everybody, thank you for listening. Live your best life. Until the next time, we'll talk to you, and we're going to continue on the conversation next month. Take care now.